Our exclusive chat today is with a key player in the 2019 general election, and he has been in the spotlight before, during, and even now, providing information on the activities of Nigeria's Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. Mr. Oluwole Osaze-Uzzi currently serves as the Director of Voter Education and Publicity of the Commission. He is a lawyer who was in private practice for several years and lectured at the University of Benin, where he obtained a master's degree in law. A seasoned administrator, he has served in various capacities with INEC before being assigned his current role. Thank you very much, sir, for coming on the program.
Thank you for having me.
Take us through what it's like to be in the spotlight all through the elections and even now.
For me, it's a strange terrain, quite honestly, because I'm especially a very reserved person and one who solitude is almost second nature to, and I like it, quite honestly. And in my first life as a lawyer, I was in private legal practice, and all you had to do was go to court and argue your cases in court. In my time, we used to grant interviews and things like that, so it was anathema almost on like a lot of what you see now. So I was far removed from the media and the spotlight of coverage and being a public figure. But even as when I first got into the commission as a special advisor to the INEC chairman, the first INEC chairman, one wasn't in the spotlight at all. You did your things behind the scenes, at the back end. And again, as director of legal, the same thing. But when I now was reassigned to the beat of to cover media and publicity, voter education, you had to be right up there. Basically, a spokesperson of the commission. You had to go on different platforms to educate Nigerians and enlighten Nigerians about processes, about procedures, about the laws, about everything else. It was a 360-degree turn. So it's not something I'm totally used to and comfortable in, but it's a job that has to be done. Somebody has to do it, and I've tried to do it to the best of my ability. And so if it necessitates going on the television, social media all the time, it's all comes with the territory. I have to do that.
A lot of Nigerians would agree that you have really represented the commission as best as you can. But then again, they would wonder, how do you deal with the negative? Because the media can be quite vicious. How do you deal with all the negative press that comes, and you need to, in spite of this, be calm and pass what information is needed?
I think that's probably the most challenging part of the job. One thing I do, I swore to myself and to my God that in everything I'll always try to tell the truth and all facts as best as I know them. I will not want to be deceptive or say things that are incorrect or untrue. If you know that, then you keep quiet. If you're not sure, I'm not so sure, but this is what I think. So honesty and integrity are all part of the job. First and foremost, I'm a Nigerian. Everybody who works in is a Nigerian. Well, Nigerian. So, and a lot of us are patriotic people who feel determined that the systems must change. If we don't get our elections right, if our democracy is not right, you can't get your economy, you can't get any other thing right. So we are imbued with that sense of justice, patriotism, and getting things done rightly. Because in taking this job, I did ask my boss, why did you agree to take this job? Prior to now, it's like a graveyard for reputations. You built, like I came with Justice Akwata, who had built a solid reputation in the practice of law in the judiciary. Why I haven't risen to the topmost of being the justice of the Supreme Court? He said, well, if I don't take it, I guess somebody has to do it. And if you don't take it, you lose the right to complain. And that's how I got into public service. It was never my intention. Although I'm son of a public servant, so it was never my intention to join public service. But I think it's a good thing, and that's why I said we must do it. And perception, unfortunately, is probably more important in so many instances than reality. And perception is built on usually false either history or false narrative. So ours is to push that narrative and say, this is the truth. You're allowed to disagree with me, but hear the facts and then form your opinion. So lots of times, a lot of what people see is not necessarily what it actually is. And social media, as good as social media is, social media doesn't always tell the whole story. And our perception, our beliefs system sometimes is based on social media and half-truths. sometimes totally fallacious, totally wrong things. That is a bit of a challenge in us. But you must be calm. You must try to get your own message across, regardless of the din of people saying the negativity that is there. You still have to say it as it is, as best as you know.
Before we go talk about more to do with your work, I want to ask this specific question. What particular lesson would you say? There might be a few, but there's this one that you take away from this entire 2019 election period that you would want to go with for the rest of your time.
Oh, there are so many lessons, but I think it's basically that if you believe in what you're doing, you just go ahead and go right with it and do it regardless. You cannot persuade everybody all of the time, but you have to put things up there, let them know that this is actually what it is. For example, there are lots of things. Why doesn't it just do this? Why can't I just take my voter's card and vote anywhere? Because the law says so. There are rules, there are guidelines, and there are regulations. I don't make the rules. INEC doesn't make the rules. The National Assembly, if we don't like them, then we change those rules. But first of all, we have to go and meet the National Assembly, which the Constitution has given the powers to make laws. The laws may be good, they may be bad, and that's why there's always legal reform. When you put laws in practice, you now find that there's some people, for example, there's this issue of certificates or not certificates. We say, we'll not give you a certificate if you put a gun or threaten my returning officer to make a return for you. That is not a voluntary return. We'll not give you a certificate. But the rule of law says once he has submitted the case to the judiciary and the judiciary has determined that we had no right to withhold the certificate, give him a certificate, then we have to obey that. We'll challenge it to the highest court, but we had to do that.
Okay, let's take a look at the aftermath of the entire process. One of them was the EU Election Observation Mission. They came up with some recommendations and observations about the entire process. And one of them was they felt that there was this lack of voter participation in the entire process. Do you agree that there was a marked lack of voter participation? If yes, what is the Commission doing to try and work around this and ensure more people take more part in the process?
I guess that was determined based on the turnout of voters vis-a-vis the total number of registered voters. Now, there are certain conversations we must have as a country. In some countries, voting is mandatory, it's compulsory. I think Australia is one of those countries. I'm not sure about Argentina. In Nigeria, it's a voluntary thing. But democracy is all about participation. And for as long as people have a choice, you cannot blame them for exercising that choice one way or the other. We must interrogate, why is this so? You ask the question, what is INEC doing about it? I think that's almost a wrong premise. Because now you think it's the INEC's responsibility to ensure that people vote.
No, but they do have a responsibility to assure, because first, there is a lot of insecurity in the land.
Good. So you're identifying issues why people don't vote. Is INEC responsible for security?
But that's part of your purview when it comes to elections. You liaise with the security agencies.
But the Constitution has given that right for security to other agencies. That's the point. That's exactly the point. That there are multi-agencies responsible for different aspects of it. Are
you insinuating in any way that INEC doesn't have any role to play in encouraging, improve?
No, you've changed the question now. For example, you use the example of security, and I'm telling you that is under a purview of somebody. So you cannot say if there's insecurity, people will not come out and vote. Certainly, we'll engage the security agencies. Please, what can we do to ensure a safe environment? Naturally, if the environment is not safe, the media will not cover will not go out. They will not risk lives of journalists. Voters will not turn out. We will not risk lives of INEC officials will not come out. So it has an impact on it. So security is paramount, but security is not under the purview. Look at the functions given. Look at the functions given to the Commission. Security is not one of those. So the question should be directed at all of us, including the media.
Okay.
Including the media, you have a duty. An obligation.
Secondly, where I'm trying to go is you, as a Commission, have seen some of the. Like I identified, insecurity is one of them. Yes. But there are other aspects. It's not just insecurity. So what is your part in this?
I'll answer that. But security is a major determinant factor. Issues of, I voted for politicians, what is the result? What are the dividends of democracy? Maybe one of them. I can't do anything about that. My job stops when the people get elected. Whether they fulfill their promises, it's not my job. Maybe maybe somebody else, but that is not my job. But It is my job to ensure that democracy is all about participation, and the successes or credibility of elections is determined by how many people participate. But actually, you say democracy is a question of numbers, the majority of people. No, it's the majority of people who turn out. So the winner is determined not by the majority of people who are entitled to vote, it's determined by the majority of people who come out to vote. But sometimes, where you can hold me by the ankle on that, is like, look, people believe that their votes will not count. Now, it's my job to ensure, to try to people, look, your votes will count and will be counted. So that is within INEC's purview. Now, telling people that don't look at your tribe, don't look at your religion, look at ethnic things, look at the capability of the candidate standing, that's your job and my job. The media should hold people, because in all the pillars of journalism, accountability, holding people accountable is one of those. And when people don't perform what they say or are ridiculous in their promises, for example, you say, oh, I'll make sure there's air conditioning all over Nigeria. And you know it cannot be done. So you point out those things. All of us have responsibility. We on our part will certainly do all we can to mobilize people, working with NOAA, working with civil society. In the last general elections, for example, we engaged civil society. We assisted with logistic support to ensure they go to places we cannot go to. And they also tell people, when people hear from CSOs, peace citizens, community-based organizations, faith-based organizations like them, they probably, generally speaking, tend to believe them more than they may believe me as a public officer. I say, oh yeah, that's his job, he's paid to do that. But when you say someone, look, I'm a patriotic person, I come from this community, I'm determined that the community must vote in this election, and these are the reasons why you must vote, generally speaking, they tend to believe them more. So we knew that, and our strategies have included collaboration with the media. We had so many deals with the media in terms of collaboration to get our message across. We collaborated with CSOs, we met with traditional rulers, we met with religious leaders, and those engagements must continue. And the message must be passed, and we have to build confidence in the system. Part of the way of confidence building is these engagements we're talking about.
Yeah, I quite agree with you that the media has a crucial role to play in all of this to increase voter participation. But, you know, when we talk about election in this country, aside from the people and the government, the focus, all eyes are usually on INEC.
Yes.
All right, let me ask you, another priority recommendation of the EU was that INEC procedures for the collation of results be elaborated and strengthened to improve integrity and confidence in the electoral process. What's your
Unfortunately, I didn't give particulars. And our process is determined by the rules and regulations set out, as I said earlier, by the laws. And the law says when you finish voting, you sort out and you count and declare results at the polling unit. The law stops there. Although for collation, you take it from the polling unit and go to the collation center, a manual process. Now, we do that, but we've gone beyond what the law says to build confidence and transparency. Each polling unit, a result is displayed. We now design the form, which is not known to the Electoral Act, but we have powers to design forms. Design the form and publish the result. All the Electoral Act says, give it to the police and give it to party agents who are willing to take, who are present, who have candidates in elections, which we do. But in addition, we paste that on the walls of every polling unit. That's an additional layer. I don't know in what context that was said. I read the report. It did not specify, and that's a bit difficult. But I guess we're talking about, for example, electronic transmission of results or other forms of transmission. But the law has given me something to do, and I've gone beyond the minimum standard prescribed by the law. Going forward, if the law is amended and says, for example, in some of the bills sent to the President for assent, an amendment to the Electoral Act, talked about electronic transmission, then that's so. Not only that, the presidential election, if you go to the website, you'll see the full results of the presidential election. But people say it's so laborious, it's so difficult, but that's what the law says. Each candidate, 73 in the presidential election, each candidate, his name has to be recorded, his cause has to be recorded, his party has to be recorded, and we have to do that and go to the next stage, which is the word collation or area collation. We collate there, take it to the local government, the same thing, and they must bring these things to Abuja. People say, oh, why don't you just send this thing electronically to Abuja? The law doesn't allow that. The law says you bring, the collation officer brings that copy, that form, brings it to the returning officer in Abuja, or wherever the collation is going to be done. And usually presidential is in Abuja. If it's governorship, it will state capital.
Does INEC support the electoral bill that is being before?
INEC proposed, I think it was 25 amendments that we thought will better enhance the job and transparency and build confidence in the process. About 3 to 5 were accepted,
The rest is still pending.
Yes, the rest is still there. But there's a new assembly, and we will continue to engage them. And new members say, look, this is what we want, this is what we think will be better. There are public hearings. We encourage the media, CSOs, we encourage all stakeholders to come, put their ideas forward. We think the framework can be improved upon. But the most difficult is the attitudinal change of especially the political class.
Let's talk about the opposition party. They have been in the news.
In the presidential system, I don't know whether you can talk of an opposition party.
Okay, let's talk about the second most populous party in this country, as per figures and popularity, and that's the PDP, okay, after the APC, because they are the ruling party. Now, the PDP have come up to say that there seemed to be a collusion between the the ruling party, and INEC. This has been a recurrent media report. I'm sure you're very aware of it. I want you to clear the air on that now.
Well, for 16 years, the People's Democratic Party held sway in the center and in many states. And what you call the opposition party, the APP, ANPP, ACN, what was the common refrain? That the PDP was in cohorts and collusion with INEC. So that is the language of the politicians. When people say that, ask them for evidence of that. And why I challenge you on the word ruling and opposition parties. In Rivers State, which is the ruling party, which is the opposition party. So it depends on which state, which constituency you're talking about. In Anambra State, which is the ruling party. And the trade banters, the trade accusations and counter accusations. But please go to court or go somewhere and prove or show the public how you say we have colluded. Look at certain people who lost elections. In a place like Bauchi, in the governorship election, did you say INEC colluded? The APC accused INEC of colluding with the PDP. The same thing with Rivers. Notwithstanding that the APC did not have candidates, read the statements coming from, including the former Minister of Transport, read the statements coming from the APC leaders. So
the
politicians will always be politicians.
Yeah, the commission is always bearing the brunt of.
Yes, when they win, there's a good election, a fair election, I'm very popular. When they lose, there's a collision between the party that won or the candidate that won along with INEC. That is always a refrain from time.
Well, that will always be, I guess. That will always be. Let's look at the welfare of core members. Yes. There was a lot of media coverage about, and pictures all over the place about how the conditions were unsavory, so to speak, for some of them. What plans are there? What lessons did INEC learn from that entire fiasco? And what plans are there to ensure that going forward, we don't have a repeat of such?
Well, first of all, fiasco is a strong word, and
it is, because it was a very pathetic situation.
Yes, but I can tell you the number of camps, and of course the powerful photographs and images we get are those that are unsavory. Those are not so good. So how much of an average that was, I really don't know. But not just youth corps, members of the youth corps, but all staff involved in the conduct of elections have to be protected, and their welfare is of paramount importance to the Commission and those who organize elections for good reason. Because if you don't take care of welfare, don't forget, just about everybody apart from INEC staff are volunteers. And people tend to forget that INEC staff get killed. Ad hoc staff get killed. They get maimed, they get attacked just for doing their patriotic job for the country. It's a very worrisome thing. So both the security and welfare are of paramount importance. And in places where it is discovered that issues of welfare, that provision has been made and they were not taken as seriously as they should, I think disciplinary action will be taken against any of the permanent staff that is involved in this unsavory act. But going forward, more monitors will be deployed to ensure that welfare issues are taken care of, because we prepared the racks, and the rack centers are the camps where the ad hoc staff stay. They're supposed to have security, they're supposed to have water, they're supposed to have mattresses or mats for the few hours they will sleep. On election day, they only sleep a few hours, because on the eve of the election, there are certain materials that they've conveyed, that have been conveyed from the local government office of the commission to those camps. And in those camps, they do lots of things. So it's like a bonfire camp night, really. After sorting out the materials, they just wait for 5, 6, 7 a.m. In fact, less than 6:30, everybody should be out of the camp.
There is this issue with logistics and movement of electoral materials during,
Yes.
and then you did have some challenges at
Yes,
some
right.
points, you know.
Yes.
I'm sure you've learned some lessons. Going forward, what is the plan?
From every exercise, we'll do learn lessons, and that's the whole point. And that's why after every major exercise, we do an in-house thing. And this time we've expanded more than in-house. Come and assist us. We don't claim to have a monopoly over all knowledge. We're not a logistics company. We're not, but we must manage the process. We're a regulatory body and a management body. We must manage the process. And for logistics, for example, internal logistics, we relied a lot on the road transport workers and owners associations. It worked quite well in some places. It didn't work as well in other places. So we've been receiving insights from our staff on ground, and we will engage the Union of Road Transport Workers and Association of Road Transport Owners, and also the Road Transport Employers Association in how do we improve things. We've tried engaging people directly, but we saw that didn't work quite well. We've now said, okay, let's go through professional associations and unions in the transport industry. How well can we do that? Some have suggested we should go to a logistics company, but if things go wrong, who do we hold if we're to go to a renowned logistics company? But everything's on the table. We will look at what is feasible and what's not feasible going forward. But we are determined to, as much as we practically can, solve that problem. It wasn't so much, logistics wasn't so much a problem in the last couple of elections. It was shown in the previous elections, Ondo, and it wasn't so much of a problem. So we don't know why in the general elections it came back as it were. So, but it's something that we're looking at.
Okay, what major changes should Nigerians expect come 2023? Based on everything we've said so far, there's a lot of review, a lot of lessons, and so on. What major changes should Nigerians expect?
Well, first of all, I think that there will be some fundamental changes to the legal framework. Probably there will be a lot more use of technology so that to limit human interference in the system. But I always tell people, let's be careful. In every time we have tried to change things, the solution now becomes part of the challenge itself. So in doing, for example, increased use of technology, we should also look at cybercrime. It throws up a new challenge. Secondly, trust issues. There seems to be a trust deficiency between state institutions, including INEC, and the populace. You go to polling units, we declare results, we paste the results. There's sometimes disputes about the outcome of results. So if we're to do it electronically, and it's a machine that comes and throws everything up, do you trust us enough to believe the results that you see there? One thing I've come to see in this country is that a lot of time, amongst our small circles, we have formed opinions that are common to most of us in those circles. And we believe that everybody outside in Nigeria have common beliefs and common agreement on those things. But sitting down here in Lagos, in VI, with a group of my friends who have shared the same, probably, religion, the same background, the same level of income and everything else, it may be a totally different thing in Zamfara State, in the peasants, amongst peasants in the village in Zamfara State. Whereas I think my own ideas are bought by all Nigerians, they might have a totally different ideas and think that it's exactly the same thing. So we have to be careful that know that this country is diverse, it's large, and the belief systems are different amongst people.
Thank you very much, sir, for coming on One-on-One.
Thank you very much for having me.
Always a pleasure to have you. And that is our program for today. Thank you for watching. I hope you were educated on a thing or two and have maybe a new way of thinking about what the Commission does. I hope that is the case. Thanks again for your time. My name is Felicity Ezewuike.